Hello, this is Gene. I will do something a little bit different on this channel this time. I will get back to talk to the Manchester United, what I think we should get before the transfer window closes, and all the drama that's going around that. The same people, they're saying that we're linked to all these players, are the same people that fucked up the Mason Greenwood situation. I'm like, don't listen to the media. Just don't do it. Look like we're looking probably going to get the dude from Chelsea. He's okay. Apparently, if this is true that we're going after these players, it makes me believe that Luke's injury is a lot worse than we're being led to believe. So anyway, I want to talk about something totally different. What I did on this channel before, talk about political stuff. So I'm going to do that now. We'll talk about Vivek Ramaswamy. That's about as good as I could be able to say it. A lot of people are now saying he's a plant, saying that he's not. He's a Democrat. He's just trying to destroy the Republican Party, whatever. I just want, from my point of view, I've watched a lot of his stuff. Once he became more famous, I went back and I listened to his speech when he was in high school. Clearly, he's articulate. Clearly, his people that come out of high school, usually liberal, went to college, obviously was very liberal there. Clearly was part of on the campaign for John Kerry. There's another video out him talking to what's going on with that, how we're going to get the right people in. And then all these people are coming out now that he's a plant and he's not really a Republican. What the fuck does that mean? The Republican Party has changed, and Donald Trump changed it forever. So he doesn't, and I don't believe that you can label him anything. I think he's a nationalist or populist, and that's what I am. So I can't really have a blame. I can't really have any issues with him because I voted for Kerry as well. At the time he voted for Kerry, he was probably in his 20s. Actually, he did say he hadn't voted since he was 30, so maybe he didn't do anything. He said that there was nobody there good enough for him to vote for. You can hold that against him, I guess. However, I mean, I'm the same. When I'm his age, 20 years ago, he's already made the decision that the Democratic Party is just so far to the left that he went ahead to the other Republican Party. He has to pick the Republican Party. That's the only what's even close to what he believes the future should be. And you, even in our society, you have to be one of the two big parties to be elected. So this is a very smart dude. Regardless of what you say, I'm like, we've been dealing with not so good smart people as presidents for a long time, pretty much my entire life. I would say that Nixon was a very smart man, IQ-wise. I think he was a decent man overall. Same thing with Carter. I don't think he was a very smart man, especially when it comes to foreign policies. Reagan, he's an actor. We haven't anybody that is like a valedictorian, top of his class in high school, in college. It's kind of like it'd be nice to have somebody that's well read, that has his opinions out there. Go to his website. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to go through it, and then I'm going to give you what I actually believe about him. Do you think that's just a wolf in sheep's clothing, or is he a salesman, or is he just the fact that he's the most articulate person out there, and we don't like articulated politicians apparently? I mean, obviously Trump is not that articulate. Neither was Obama. All this thing about him being a great orator, not really. I mean, not really. He's not. You can't even really compare him to really, really great orators. He commands attention. He has a presence. Doesn't make him a great speaker. And neither is Trump. This dude is. Now, I think that we have a problem with that we almost look at him as elite or snobby. Yeah, he probably has a higher IQ than probably 99.9% of people in the United States. So that's natural, I guess. But at some point in the United States, we probably should have somebody that's pretty smart to lead us, and somebody that has his vision, and it's not going to go back and and have to litigate everything that happened in our country for the last 100 years or 300 years or whatever. We can still talk about it. We can have academic discussions on it. We can even have holidays about it. But as he says, we should go forward. So I'm going to go on his website. I'm going to look at his plans, and I'm going to tell you where I think I am. He's not as far as where I would go, but he's at least, we're having a conversation right now. And it's clear to me that there are a lot of people in the America First, the original America First under Nick Fuentes and Vincent James and those guys kind of like him. Still has an issue with Israel. Everybody has to somewhat kiss the ring. He kind of like said what he said, that we really shouldn't give them more foreign aid. I agree with him on that. They don't need anything from us. So anyway, let me go on a website, and I'm going to go through his little 25 points, and then I'll give you my opinion at the end, if I actually think he can win or not. And then later in the week, I'll talk a little bit more about Manchester United, and we'll go from there when it comes to that. There's a lot of shit that needs to be talked about that, especially it's the same people reporting the same shit, and it's the same people that forwarded the shit on Mason as well. And I guess we believe them now, but we got 25 people we're looking at. No, we don't. We got 2 or 3. If we don't get them, we don't get them, and we move on. Anyway. All right, let me go to his website. And please bear with me. You know the fact that I can't actually talk very well when I'm trying to read something. All right. He believes in this revolution, but he wants a revolution through policy. Right. What else he's going to say? That I'm going to arm the citizenry and we're going to take over Washington, D.C.? Well, that doesn't. It's not going to happen. Not yet. I'm not saying that won't happen in the future. But anyway, he said, he's saying America First did not start in 2016. It started in 1776. It requires moral authority, not just vengeance and grievance. That means you don't go back and re-litigate what everything that just happened. We could learn from it. We could talk about it, but we're not going to be vengeful about it either side. You know, some of the shit's happened to white people the last 2 or 3 years. There's a reason why people get upset. And he has 25 policy comments or commitments. His first one here, this is I'll show it to you here so you can see it. If you go to his website, it's Vivek2024.com. You can follow along with me as I'm doing this, or you can look at it after this video. Please stay as long as you can and subscribe if you want to, share if you want to, tell me I'm an idiot. I will have that conversation with you in the comments. But at least have a criticism of what I'm saying or what I have to say about Vivek. Don't say I'm a stupid American or that's a strong man. The insult, I'll block that. I want to have this conversation. This is why I do this. I'm a lot older than most people that's going to see this video. I have life experience, world experience. I was a Democrat my entire life. The party left me. I'm not a Republican. I am not registered as a Republican. I do whatever I do. Whoever decides is going to run. I had this about 2 weeks honeymoon with RFK, but no. he backtracked on Israel. He's okay with basic abortion up to the time of birth, and just recently talked about that the Republican Party is going to penalize single parents, which is single mothers, and he had this whole thing to talk about how single mothers are having to deal with all this stuff, and I'm like, that's not the problem, Bob. The problem is there's no accountability for young females that get pregnant. They have all this ability not to get pregnant, and they have sex for every man around them, and they have these kids, and now you're burdening the rest of us to take care of them. It's just, there's, the 1% that might get raped, all that bullshit, okay. But that's not what it is, and he knows it's not what it is. It's destroyed the black community, and it's also affecting the white community, and that should not be celebrated. I don't know what Vivek wants to do about this. I think he's saying that Personally, there's a lot of things that need to be changed in the family courts. First of all, there should be no alimony at all. Maybe for the first 3 years if the woman doesn't work, but after that, it's over. And there has to be some sort of a reformation when it comes to child custody and support. If a guy is making all this money, now the woman gets 14% of that. In some states, 25 in others. So if a guy's making $1 million a month, she can live off that. So what is the incentive for them to stay with the man? They'll just let government go in and take the money from the man. That needs to be changed before anything. And that he talks about getting our identity, our nation's identity back, revive American national identity. That has to talk about, and he talks about nuclear family. Well, in order that you have to reform the family courts, and you have to incentivize people getting married, and not incentivize people getting divorced. Most people that get divorced, they don't. It isn't because we all think it is, because some woman's getting beat up at home. She just finds something else, because women they have that in them. They are I can't say the word. They always want to trade up, and the society the last 34 years is pushed them to that. And that's another video that could go forever about who's doing that and why they're doing it, how they're just trying to destroy the West by doing this. But I'm gonna read what he had to say, and I'll talk a little bit of each thing. This could be a pretty long video, so if you have to come back and look at it a couple times, that's fine. Okay, he says use the military, including drones, to secure the southern border. Fine. I think that we only have 1.3 billion in the military right now. I see way too many of them are on TikTok. Yes, I look on TikTok every now and then, especially when there's like a match on or something like that. I like to see people's response to that. We need to get another 300,000 or 400,000. Half of them should be used to support our border on the north and on the south, and that should be their AFC. It could be infantry or security police. They should have their own individual type of training that maybe will allow them to, once they get out of the military, they go to work for ICE or Department of Homeland Security. Now we need to do something with that. We need to reform that. And that way people come in there and do that. I don't care if they're Hispanic. If they're Americans, they can do this, and they can still defend the borders. Black people, white people, Asians, it doesn't really matter. If you're an American, that's all that matters. So do that. And I said they'll have a pathway into a civilian job that'll pay them more money. And that way you can do your public service to this country, which he talks about as well. So I think that's where I would put the money, and I would put a fucking wall up. I'm not talking about a fence. I put up a wall. If you don't want to do that, then I'm going to get those 250,000 on the southern border, and another probably 50,000 on the Canadian border. That's what I would do. That's the first one. He says end affirmative actions. That's repeal Lyndon Johnson's executive order 11246. I agree 100% with that. It's racist to black people, and it's not good for Asians. They're getting, like, it's a reverse discrimination against them. And white people, if you have high IQ and you do well in school, doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get anything. But it's really worse for Asians. But again, that's in a small area. It affects men or women, or men, white men, a lot more than anybody else. It says protect American children, ban addictive social media under 16, and gender confusion care for minors. I don't know how he's going to actually ban addictive social media under 16. Are they going to come to their house and look at someone's phone? That's going to be a hard one to do. And I'm okay with we got to stop with doing surgeries on minors because it's for gender affirming care. But I think he needs to go further. He needs to either outlaw or have a little program that says that you don't need to circumcise your baby. There's no there's no health-wise that you do it. It's barbaric, and you can go in my other videos, but the only reason we have this is because the Jews do it. So we had the same covenant that they have with God, and they just came here and used it for us. And they laugh in their synagogue saying that, hey, you be like us. Yeah. And strange, I was circumcised, and I didn't know this. I had to look at my birth certificate. I went to the Jewish hospital, and they cut me there. And I can tell you what, they didn't do a very good job. It's okay, but I mean, it's fine. And it didn't have no rabbi just uses mouth to do it. But anyway, it's a ritual that shouldn't be applied to those who are not Jewish. They can do whatever they want to do to their babies. And then we talk about consent. Then it's like it's just the circular logic when you're talking to someone on the left, and they think it's fine that somebody's 13 has all this stuff and then takes off their chest or do something with their penis, but then they would say that, well, the man did not, or the baby did not consent to having their foreskin taken off. All right. Next one, make political expression a civil right and end unlawful DEI indoctrination. Of course, it should be, right? Whatever my political expression is, it should be a civil right. I should be allowed to say it. As long as I don't go tell somebody because I believe a certain person should be the president, that because I believe that, now go shoot somebody down the road because of that. If I say it vocally and I say that to my minions to go down and do that, then obviously I should be charged with inciting something. But it just happened to Tortomedeson. Now he's in Canada, and he's might lose his license because he doesn't believe what the state believes. And the idea that you think that this is not going to come here, it's already coming here. Everybody says we're the last place for free speech, but it's not really that anymore. So we need somebody like that to talk about this. And there are a lot of people on the far right that have been talking about this for a while. And a lot of people that were not far out there, like Steven Crowder, what's his face? The guy from Turning Point. He didn't go that far, but now he's being pushed out because that's where the thing is going. Everything that's Nick and Vince have talked about for 3 or 4 years ago is now coming truth. People are having to defend this because they know that they don't. Charlie Cook. So it's strange because they've changed as well. And either they're grifting to that, but I don't think that makes any sense because I don't think you get more money going further right, if that's really right. It's not, it's more common sense. The fifth one, withhold federal fundings for societies that refuse to protect Americans from violent crime. I don't know what that is. That just sounds like platitudes there. What does that actually mean? I guess that means that if you have a DA that is not going to prosecute people basically on the color of their skin, that we look at people if they grew up bad, so we're not going to look at them, but that leads to this stuff. Or if you allow sanctuary cities and the federal government's not going to give them any money to feed these people because some of that come across over the borders or that goes into towns. These illegal immigrants do commit violent felonies. So I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. I think he's taking a shot at Democratic-run cities like Chicago, LA, New York, Jackson, St. Louis. I could go on forever. The states might still be a red state. Like here, Birmingham is a somewhat bad place to go at certain parts. Same with St. Louis. But St. Louis and Missouri might be red, might actually become a Republican state, but the big cities are normally Democratic and run by Democrats. And I think that's just like a shot against them. From the federal government, other than just not giving them the money, I don't know how a lot you can do. I mean, we do things in the 60s. I don't know if we're going to go in with tanks and shit and, do the shit that they did back then. Okay, let me see what it's next. All right. Number two. Now I said there are 25. He's got 5 bullets, and then below it how he's going to do it. So that was your revive American identity, national identity. He's almost taken from a civic nationalism type of approach. He hasn't really said about this, but he did say that he wants any high school person to actually get a high school that they have to pass the civics test like an immigrant does that comes in, because we should know at least as much as somebody that wants to come here legally, and I'm fine with that. I think that we should know more. Our kids should know more about how the system actually works. And also he talks about public service, and I'm 100% behind that. I think that you should be in the military, and that's the whole thing that I was talking about before. I think if you want to go it that way, you stay in the United States. You'll be part of this thing that just defends the southern border and the northern border. You can get intertwined with ICE and Department of Homeland Security to have a job after. Now, of course, there'll be loopholes around it. If you're like somebody that's going to MIT, you'll have to go do something. But Kennedy talked about this 50 years ago. So or 60 years ago. I think that that's something that should be done. We should be, because you ask way too many young kids, and they think that there's nothing I can say that's good about the United States, or I'm not proud of being American. And you can't really blame them for saying that, because especially if you're young white or a young black man, it's not what you would hope it would be. So I think I would go a little bit further. And also, when you talk about what is your actual American identity, we have to acknowledge who built this country. And we can talk about the effort of the slaves and all what they did, but we have to realize that it was the Western Europeans that built this country. And we shouldn't be afraid to say that. It's not racist to say it. This country was 90% white when I was born. Now it's 60. So he doesn't talk about demographic change. He's looking at it from a civic nationalism type of thing. But this country is going to change fundamentally. It's already happening. Whether it's going to be the Asians that come in and run everything at the highest level, which is very possible because of the high IQ, the Indians, the Japanese, Chinese, Americans that come here, they might run all the areas. Right now it's the Jews, even though they're 2% of the population, they're everywhere. They lead everything. And they don't have the same type of issues that we have, or I don't know what it is. We're chained back. We're chained with the Jews. We are. When somebody says we're part of a country that's Judo-Christian or something, no, it's not. It's a Christian nation. It's just because part of the Bible, the 5 books of the first books, the Old Testament is all that. Whatever. I'm not going to go down that road. Okay, it says unleash the American economy, achieve more than 5% GDP growth. I think that'd be very easy. It just brings some. For me, you build everything here. You build all factories here. You don't allow teams. The big manufacturers, they're not allowed to go overseas anymore. I mean, if they're already over there, you're not going to tell them to come back. But if they build anything more, it has to be the United States. Let's just see what he says here. Drill, frack, and burn coal. Abandon the climate cult and unshackled nuclear energy. I've been a proponent of nuclear energy for 30 years, and they've gotten so much better now. You can get something up the size of a small pergola that can run a whole community, and it's safe, and it's the most greenest thing out there. And the fact that we don't have it everywhere, and the fact that you could put that in a rural area and you can make that place to come back to life. People come there and get the power there, and they can have businesses there, and people. There are so much open spaces in this country that are habitable. They are. but nobody's there. Anyway, and you're talking about jobs there. If you had the ability, just go to these places. It might be out rural areas. You service it, you come back, go to another place. That'd be a nice little paycheck. Probably doesn't require any college. It'd be all on the site training. Europe was doing that way, and then they went crazy. And look what they've done. They're behind to Russia because they have no energy. It says put Americans back to work, dismantle London Johnson's failed right society. I agree with that. I believe this, of course. Incentivize trade schools. That's really the problem we're having. No men are not going to schools. So he says, let me do this over college degrees. And he puts, sorry, gender studies majors. The problem is that universities have catered to females and all these stupid degrees out there that they put so much debt on themselves, and then they want everybody to come in to pay for their debt, and that's why they pay for they go to the Democratic Party, even though they don't do anything about it. They talk about it, nothing happens. This is what happens. The college has changed so much. It says, launch derelegated Reagan 2.0 revolution, cut 75% headcounts among U.S. regulators. Yes, make the government a lot smaller, like get rid of the Department of Education, downsize the EPA, only have local EPA officials to look at places to do stuff. It should not be all headquarters in Washington, D.C. And that way they can actually see if something's going on and they can report back, and then we can see about fixing it. This is probably this. Everybody said he was anti-Semitic because he said that he didn't want that we were going to look at how much the aid we're going to give to Israel. This might be the other thing. Limit the U.S. Fed's scope. Stabilize the dollar and nothing more. Well, a lot of people who run that happens to be from that same tribe, and they don't like having that taken away from them. And obviously, almost every conservative would want that taken care of. The Fed is out of control. Has been forever. Should have never been started. A lot of reasons why. All right, to the third point. Declare independence from communist China. This is the whole thing about getting all the factories back here, build everything here, so we don't have to worry about them. They can still give us the cheap goods that they give us. A lot of the stuff I have in my house are from China or Japan. Now, Japan's a little different, but China has its worth. They can mass produce all this shit, but we shouldn't be beholden to them when it comes to stuff that might destroy us in the future. Let's see what he says here. I don't know if he's going to actually be able to do this. It says, hold the CCCB accountable for COVID-19. Use all financial levers. Well, the problem is when you go down the rabbit hole, we're going to find out we're the ones that started it. I'm sure that we financed all this stuff because obviously both us, Israel does this shit, China does it, England does. They find things that they might be able to use for other people. All of a sudden, we're just didn't become a utopian society. We're always looking at ways to win. But I think that's another pipe dream. It's like us going after Saudi Arabia for 9/11. If this family gets this settlement and they get 1.8 billion, they're never going to get the money. And it says, achieve semiconductor independence, secure our modern way of life. Obviously, that's Taiwan does pretty much all that shit. If they took over Taiwan, they could pretty much run us on that side. And the fact that we can't fix this and should be able to do it now. I think the warning signals was all the chips that were not available for the new cars. That should have been the first time we said we're going to start building stuff. I think Biden signed something to have one of them done. This should be a referendum instead of spending money to Ukraine and all that stuff. Affirmative action, all of other things. We should be doing this and be able and have these trade stools showing up and how to do this. So you go there for 12 weeks, and then you go in and you can work in these factories and making $40 an hour. It'll just help everything. All this stuff is common sense, and why we haven't got there, that's what pisses me off. It just lets me know that those people that are in Washington, D.C. don't want us to be a very profitable type of country. They don't want it. It's like we finally got energy independent under Trump, and then all of a sudden the new guys come in, and he just stops it. Stop SSC affiliates from buying American land. I would also include billionaires like himself or Bill Gates. There should be a limit. And why are they buying all this stuff in the middle of the stuff? There's a reason for it. And that's another thing we go down and talk about. Use our military to annihilate Mexican truck cartels and defend against the CCP opium war. That's another thing. Go down that rabbit hole. Didn't realize that they got all that shit from Wuhan as well. But yeah, why not? If you, like I said, you can have that 250,000 on the border. There might be a elite group of that will actually go in and have tactical stuff that they might have to go into Mexico. And there are people that got upset for him saying that you're going to go into Mexico to stop it. And fucking yeah, because we've lost 100,000 people every day off this stupid shit. It's a lot worse than COVID did. I mean, those who actually died from COVID, just for COVID, fentanyl was a lot worse. Just saying. The same people that normally dies from the flu and all that stuff was about the same level of people that die from actually COVID. The people, when they started saying you got COVID because you had it, because you had all these other comorbidities, they still count it as COVID. They don't do it for flu. Anyway. Ban U.S. businesses from expanding in China until CCP stops cheating. Whatever. I just want, there needs to be more here, okay? He's got all this stuff. There has to be more factories being built, technology stuff being built in the United States. You could still be competitive against everybody else. I mean, obviously, certain technologies and stuff that we were behind, and then when the Japanese brought their cars over here, they just destroyed ours because we didn't have any competition. So it's great that we have competition, but all this stuff should be built here. That would employ Americans, and we can get back to when we had an actual middle class. We don't have that anymore. We have the elite. You have some people have some decent amount of money, and then the rest of us are just figuring how are we going to get to the next couple days. You know, I'm okay, but I'm lucky. All right. Oop, was that it? Oh, sorry. We're now point 4. Dismantle managerial bureaucracy. That means obviously make the government more efficient, which is hard to do because there's so many people that are employed by the government. And what was it that long ago that learn how to code? That was the big thing. Well, these people that play in the government, and I was in the government for a long time too, they're going to find a new place to go. And that means we'll take you to these other places, take you to a trade school, we'll help you with that, and you can go build stuff. This country needs to start building shit again. But let me read what he had to say here. Shut down toxic government agency, Department of Education, the FBI, IRS, and more. And rebuild from scratch when required. We have to have something to get our taxes. Now, unless we're going to flat cast and everything, you don't really need it. So if you go out and buy something, they can put the flat tax on it. If you buy a house, everything's going to be the same. So you get all those 30 or 40,000 people in the government no longer have a job. Doesn't mean we're not going to do anything about it. They're going to be able to be retrained to do something else instead of sitting in a damn office all day and just looking at numbers. Find something you can actually use your hands with. Men need it as much as anybody. What we're doing now is not helping us. Obviously, when we started the Department of Education, we were 1 or 2 in the world when it comes to education. Now we're like worst. So get rid of that. The FBI, you have to have a federal. There's going to have to be a reform there. You're not going to have people that are unelected officials that are going to be using ideological what they believe, and they're going to either investigate this person because of this person based on what their biases are. Happened that with Trump. Well, they're going to do this stuff. And why these people are not in prison? Anyway. It says civil and civil service protections for bureaucrats. 8-year term limits instead. I don't know about that. I mean, I understand it, but I don't understand. If you have the right person doing the right thing, eliminate federal employees' unions, repeal JFK's Executive Order 10/9098. Now, people say you can't do it. Can't do it. Yeah, you can, because there's 2 or 3 executive orders that came into business or started under Democratic presidents in the 60s. That's 60 years ago. He can go in right away on the first day he walks in and get rid of it right there and say that if you work for a government, you can't be unionized. Move 75% or more of federal employees out of Washington, D.C. and end pro-lazy remote option. This is what Elon did for Twitter as well. The problem is that Washington, D.C. is not an indicative for the rest of the United States. And under COVID, this all get like magnified. People got to stay home. It's just, we're so bloated in Washington, D.C. It could be, there's so much money that can be saved there. And again, these people, if they want to work, if they don't want to do this, if they don't, then we can retrain them to something else. I mean, like I said, these are the same people that said, sorry, you're gonna be a coal person, we can't do it anymore, go code. We're gonna tell the same thing to these people, not code, but go learn how to put a fashion something. I don't know. Cut wasteful expenditures. White House, not individual agencies, will submit budget request to Congress. That's interesting. I thought they did that. Okay, apparently there's other individual agencies, another government thing that says, we'll do the budget for you, and then the president looks at it and says, oh, it's fine, and then they get it to Congress. No, it should be, the White House should be doing it, not just individual agencies. That would save billions and billions of dollars. All this stuff in here, and then we would not be, we're so bloated. Under Reagan, we were very bloated in the military. We had 2 million people in the military. And it was like, now we have like a 1 million, and the people in there now, like I told you, way too many more on TikTok. They don't even, they teach them all the same shit. They got that diversity, inclusion and shit when they're talking about it in basic training or in their tech schools. So all these black people come in there and they right away think that they're a victim. And it's very hard to discipline anybody if you have to be somebody that's a sergeant. And then I can't do this to me. Anyway. Okay. And number 5. And weaponization of government and financial markets. See, it's probably another reason why they think it's anti-Semitic. It says, pardon the defendants of politicalized prosecutions, Trump, Mackey, and peaceful January 6 protesters. Okay, that's fine. Should have been done under Trump. He was there, to 20? Could he have done it then? I don't know. Hold Congress accountable for hush money funds. Taxpayers should not subsidize sexual misconducts. You guys don't understand that? They've been doing it forever. You can find that there's a hush money fund for these, regardless on both sides, that they get accused and they get like a settlement money from them. It's like, now as a person, I know that a lot of that stuff is not true, but if you know that the ability is there, somebody's going to go there and try to get the money from you. So I'm fine with that. Publish the Jeffrey Epstein client list. Government should not use police power to shield select elites. Yeah, why hasn't that happened? I mean, come on. Rescind Biden's ESG rule for retirement funds. get politics out of the corporate America and capital markets. Oppose CBDC. Fight all plans for digital currency and dangerous schemes of government control over accounts. Okay. All right. A lot of that stuff I'm fine with, and you have to start somewhere. I'd go a lot further. Now, some of the people on the right, or people that look at, the whole thing about the government coming in and basically going after you based on your ideology. And that's what we're seeing right now. People are actually being prosecuted because they're not Democrats. And Republicans don't really do that when they're in power. They don't go after people. But apparently, we see that now. Trump is clearly he's a political prisoner, whether you like him or not. If you actually take a step back and you look at it, and if you looked at it just around, if let's say Obama, they were doing it to them, the same type of proof that they would have under that, they would not only would they say it's racist, they would say it makes us a banana republic. We're in a bad area. We're in a bad time. I keep thinking that at some point the bow's going to break. But we understand, we really can see who actually runs. Right away, because once Vivek said that he might not, if he was president, he was not going to give foreign aid to Israel, everybody came out in support of it. Nikki Haley got out there and just harped like she's some sort of wench and going out there yelling at him and doing this shit and she's just a shill for Israel. And I'm like, he's not America. He's not Israel first, and neither should she be. And some people made the comment, and I don't like it so much, but fine. These are two Indians running at each other, arguing with each other. And that's the other people. People say that they look at him because he isn't, I don't know, because he's not really American. I mean, he was born here. He's articulate. He understands what the Constitution means, what it's supposed to do. And my whole journey, when I became red-pilled, I started I was an Americanism, or I was not a civic nationalist or a constitutionalist. And as I started going down the rabbit hole, and then when you look at demographic changes and what they're doing to young, especially white men, and black men, of course, and I've said it forever that there's an opportunity for young black and white men to get together and be a force of good. We just have to get together and stop with this whole bullshit that's not coming back now to divide us. We're all Americans, right? It's not, you can say that, I don't know, we can go down there and, I mean, people on TikTok, they're still, every day, they've been talking about how white people are appropriating black hair color or hairstyles. And I'm like, this is what when people have nothing else to talk about, and there are always women talking about it, and then this white woman will come in there and will sit there and I'm so ashamed, and I should have told him not to do it, and I'm like, and then you wonder why people look at us and don't respect us, that we just bow down. But anyway, just let me finish this because it's been 43 minutes already. I think his type of politician is the future. And we're going to have to either, until the white people get their act together, get a young white person that isn't beholden to the same old groups in Washington, D.C. We're going to have people that are outsiders that have enough money that they can't be bought. Not saying that Trump wasn't bought. Either he got really bad advice or he hired the wrong people to be his advisor, because he became part of the system. Vivek might do that as well. He might try to help. He wants to be this unifier. So he's going to say this, and he's going to hopefully get something in the middle of that. But the most important thing is that we have to find young people that love this country, the idea of the country, that understood what the founders was talking about, the greatness of that document, regardless of what color they are. So you can give a goal to young men, especially, to move on. Somebody's calling from Baton Rouge. No, you're going to lose on Sunday in Orlando. I'm just trying to tell you that, hopefully. I don't like the fact that everybody's saying that Florida State's going to be in the playoff. Let's get past LSU, and let's see what happens if we get past LSU. This is still Florida State. We've had for the last 40 years, they've had great teams and didn't do anything with it. But anyway, so we need young people to stand up. He's 38. So I was like, you're seeing now they're showing those little videos of him because obviously he goes and he talks to people. He's a great articulate type of person. He's talking about stuff 20 years ago about Kerry, and I'm like, well, I also voted for Kerry, and they're not saying he's really a Democrat. Well, I was a Democrat. I voted for Obama twice. I voted for Kerry. But then I said before, the party left me, and I'm sure the same thing happened to him. So I'm giving him the benefit of a doubt, but he is looking at more of a constitutional thing. I don't really say he's really conservative because neither is Trump. He's not really. I didn't see anything in there about the sanctity of life. He talks about it, but it's not on his 25 points. So there might be a compromise there. Not that he can't do anything about it. The Supreme Court already ruled on that. The ruling that was done a billion years ago was faulty. So obviously you can come back and be charged again. And the states are doing what they're going to do. And so under a constitutional rule, he's probably will probably be for that. And I'm fine with that as well. But we need to get the government out of our house. But there are times that we have to be vigilant when we have a small group of people that want to indoctrinate our kids. We just have to be. There was a time in this country that we all knew what it meant to be American, and that's really all he's about. He's America first, and why shouldn't he be? His country. His parents came here, didn't have a whole lot of money. He did what he had to do, did well in school, became a billionaire because of the American experience, the opportunities that was given to him. Why would he want? I mean, most people would want to do this, right? To give back, and he wants to do that for the country. I don't think he's a Manchurian candidate. I don't think he's a plant. I don't think that he's trying to do it so he can get India to take over the United States. So we can be on the global stage, but we need to bring a lot of things back, almost be isolationist when it comes to our products and stuff like that. And if you're going to serve the United States, stop being on TikTok, get in shape, understand what it means to be an American, and not sit there and continually complain because you have nothing else to do, be on TikTok and complain about stuff that's not really affecting you. You get up in the morning, you can go anywhere and do what you want to do, pretty much in the United States. There are places and pockets that it's not that way, and we should always try to fix that. And I think this guy will try to do that. So at this point, I said I had a little 2 weeks that I was looking at RFK, but he's just too far. He's still a liberal in so many ways. He's just an old school liberal, and he's not as he's good on a lot of other areas when it comes to the war and some of the other stuff, free speech, stuff like that. But he still believes the old, tired, the Great Society, which he wants to get rid of, affirmative action, which he wants to get rid of, propping up single mothers, which is so damaging to the United States. So at this point, we're only about 1 billion miles from the primary. If Trump is on the ballot here in Alabama and Vivek is on the ballot here, I'm going to vote for Vivek. I don't think, I could be wrong, I think that he's an alpha in his mind, and Trump is an alpha. I don't think that they could actually be on part of a ticket together. It's possible because if there's no way that enough of the people who vote for Vivek, he will take it. And but I think he's got this drive not only to get his vision out there. I think he wants to be the youngest president of all time. And I think it's time we need to go past having 70-year-olds being the presidents and having some younger people, articulate, high IQ type people in that not so IQ that they don't want to get reproduced and all that stuff, and they just, you know, they're so ideologically so left because they're high IQ. But somebody that understands how important the Constitution is and what it really means, and what it really means to be an American. That's what I have. I know it's been a long video. If anybody actually watches it all, I'll give you a clap. But thank you for watching. Like I said, I'll have some reports on Manchester United later in the week. It's going to be an interesting weekend. We got Florida State playing LSU on Sunday as well. So, and the Arsenal. We'll see what happens. Let's see. I don't think we're going to get anybody in that's going to actually start against Arsenal. So everything we do this week, unless this Cucurella comes in, he might start. But I think Delo is still better than him. Like I said, there must Shaw's. If this is true, like I said, and I'll talk about it in my videos about Manchester United. It must be worse than what they're saying. But anyway, you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.